Good afternoon, everyone. So let's start with today's topic. Imagine you walk into an important job interview or a first date. You haven't said a single word yet. You have just crossed the threshold of the door. But here is the terrifying reality. The other person has already formed an opinion about your confidence, your trustworthiness, and your competence. How? Because long before our mouth opens to form sentences, our bodies, our posture, and our expressions have already given a full blown presentation. Every single day, we operate in two parallel universes of human connection. The first one is the world of verbal communication, that is the structured, intentional world of the things we speak and write. The second is the massive, often chaotic world of the nonverbal communication, the subconscious, continuous signals we send through our gestures, expressions, and posture. In this video, we are going to break down the definitive blueprint of how humans actually talk to one another using a brilliant framework that contrasts these two pillars across five key dimensions. By the end of this video, you won't just be a good speaker, you'll practically be a mind reader. If you want to master the art of communication, hit that subscribe button, grab a notebook, and let's dive in. Let's start with the tool we use most consciously, that is verbal communication. When we look at the infographic in the image, verbal communication is defined by a very specific architecture. It isn't just talking, it is a structured, highly sophisticated technology that humans invented to transfer complex data from one brain to another. Let's break down its four primary characteristics. First and foremost, verbal communication uses language, words, and sentences. This sounds obvious, right? But think about the magic of this. Whether I'm speaking to you right now through audio waves or you are reading the closed captions on the screen, we are using a shared code. Words allow for high fidelity. If I want to tell you the project deadline has been moved to next Tuesday at precisely 3 p.m., I cannot easily communicate that exact, highly specific data using just facial expressions. I need the scalpel of the spoken or written word. The second core feature in the verbal communication is choosing deliberately to convey messages. For the most part, you have a filter. You think about what you want to say, your brain selects the vocabulary from your mental dictionary and you deploy it. Because it is conscious, it gives us power. We can construct arguments, craft poetry, debate philosophy, or carefully negotiate a contract. It is an intentional act of design. Thirdly, verbal communication follows grammar, syntax, and conventions. Every language and art has a manual. You can't just throw a bag of words at someone and expect them to understand. There is an order. If I say the cat chased the mouse, it means something entirely different than the mouse chased the cat. The rules of syntax give the words their power. Without these structure constraints, verbal communication collapses into white noise. Finally, a massive advantage noted in the image is that verbal data is easily recorded. It can be transcribed or documented precisely. Because it relies on a discrete set of symbols, be it letters, characters, or specific phonemes, we can write it down in a textbook, print it in a newspaper, save it in a PDF, or log it in a database. This is how human history, law, and science are preserved across generations. But before we move to the next section, let's do a quick mental experiment. Think about the last text message you sent. It was verbal, right? It used written words, it was intentional, it followed basic grammatical rules, and it's recorded on your phone right now. But let me ask you this. Have you ever sent a text message that was completely misunderstood because the person couldn't hear how you said it? Drop a comment below if you have ever accidentally started an argument just because the text lacked tone. That misunderstanding happens because the text lacked the very thing we are going to talk about next, that is nonverbal communication. Now let's look at the other side of the coin. If verbal communication is the text, nonverbal communication is the context. It is the vast ocean of data that surrounds every word we speak. According to behavioral psychologists, upwards of 60% to 90% of our daily communication is entirely nonverbal. Let's explore the five defining pillars of this hidden language as outlined in our reference infographic. As clearly states, this mode relies on body language, expressions, and gestures. It is completely wordless. It's the roll of an eye, the shrugging of shoulders, a sharp intake of breath, a firm handshake, or the crossing of arms. Think about a sigh. A deep, heavy sigh doesn't contain a single noun or verb, but everyone in the room instantly knows exactly what it means: frustration, exhaustion, or resignation. The second feature is beautiful. Nonverbal cues serves as substitutes and complements. They support or stand in place of verbal messages. Imagine someone saying, "I am so excited to be there," while jumping up and down with a massive smile. The body language complements and amplifies the sounds. Now imagine someone asks you, "Do you know where the keys are?" And instead of speaking, you simply point your finger toward the kitchen counter. Or someone asks if you're okay and you just give a thumbs up. The gesture completely substitutes the spoken word. Here is where the things get fascinating and a little tricky. Nonverbal communication is primarily subconscious. It often involuntarily and reflects emotions. While you can easily lie with your words, it is incredibly difficult to lie with your body. If you are deeply nervous during a presentation, you might consciously choose to speak clear, confident words, but your subconscious mind might cause your hands to tremble, your micro expression to twitch, or your voice to crack. Your body is a mirror to your actual emotional state, whether you like it or not. Fourth, this is perhaps the most profound difference highlighted in this image. It is conscious, continuous, and inevitable. It happens constantly, even without speaking. You can choose to stop talking. You can close your mouth and refuse to utter a sound. But can you stop communicating? No, because sitting in absolute icy silence in a corner is still sending a massive, loud message to everyone else in the room. You cannot communicate non-verbally. It is an unbroken, ongoing broadcast. Finally, non-verbal signals are highly context dependent. As our graphic notes, meaning can vary widely based on situation and culture. Take the simple act of maintaining intense direct eye contact. In a Western corporate boardroom, it is viewed as a sign of confidence, honesty, and engagement. But in many traditional East Indian cultures, prolonged direct eye contact can be interpreted as a sign of disrespect, defiance, or aggression. The gesture doesn't have an inherent meaning, it relies entirely on the cultural framework of the person viewing it. To truly master this, let's pit these two forces against each other in a direct head-to-head comparison across three critical arenas: one, structure; second, control; and third, documentation. What happens when these two modes contradict each other? Imagine you ask a friend if they are mad at you. They look away, cross their arms tightly, scowl, stomp their foot, and snap in a sharp, clean tone, "No, I am completely fine." Which one do you believe? Do you believe the verbal message or the nonverbal broadcast? 19 times out of 20, human will instantly believe the nonverbal over the verbal. Why? Because we instinctively know what the subconscious body language is much harder to fake than a spoken word. When the text and the context fight, the context always wins. Alright, we understood the theory. We have analyzed the breakdown from the slide. But how do you actually apply this to your real life to become a communication powerhouse? Let's talk about three actionable strategies. First strategy is audit your leakage. Because nonverbal communication is continuous and subconscious, your body is constantly leaking your true thoughts. Start practicing situational awareness. When you are in a high stake meeting or a tough conversation, check in with your posture. Are your shoulders hunched? Are your fists clenched? Are you tapping your foot anxiously? By bringing your subconscious habits into a conscious awareness, you can align your body language with your spoken goals. Strategy number two, match your modalities. True charisma happens when your verbal and non-verbal channels are perfectly synchronized. If you are delivering positive, encouraging feedback to a teammate, make sure your facial expression match. Open up your stance, use expressive hand gestures, and let your vocal warmth complement your words. When your verbal and non-verbal channels run in the same direction, you become immensely persuasive. Third, never judge a nonverbal cue in isolation. Remember, it is context dependent. If someone crosses their arms while talking to you, don't immediately assume that they are defensive or angry. They might just be cold. Always look for clusters of signs: eye contact, tone of voice, postures, and evaluate them against the setting and culture you are in. At the end of the day, human communication isn't just about the words we pick out, nor it is just about how we wave our hands. It is a beautiful, complex symphony where both parts must play in harmony. Verbal communication gives us the precision to build civilization, write laws, and express deep philosophical ideas. On the other hand, nonverbal communication gives us the emotional depth to build trust, so empathy, and form deep soul to soul connection. The next time you walk into a room, remember your body is speaking before you have ever opened your mouth. Make sure it's saying something worth hearing. Thank you so much for watching. If you find this breakdown valuable, smash that like button, leave a comment with the nonverbal cue you use the most, and don't forget to subscribe for more deep dives into human psychology and communication mastery. Until next time, keep communicating with purpose, and I will see you in the next video.